United States imperialism, or human rights and democracy.
And in support of a request from the Department of Justice, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro.
Nicolas Maduro had his chance until he didn't. He effed around and he found out.
This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military.
Last night, on the order of the President of the United States, and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro.
Nicolas Maduro had his chance until he didn't. He effed around and he found out.
This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might.
On January 3rd, the United States launched Operation Just Cause 2.0. This mission has ignited a global firestorm of debate. Is this a cross-border, state-level kidnapping that violates sovereign rights? Or is it a necessary intervention to remove a dictator in the name of the rule of law, human rights, and democracy? This article dissects how Maduro was captured, the reality of U.S. double standards, and how superpowers like China and Russia continue to dominate and manipulate the world stage. The operation to capture Nicolas Maduro was nothing short of a movie script. Under the cover of total darkness, the elite Delta Force and Navy SEAL Team 6 descended upon Caracas. The mission began with a massive cyber attack that crippled Venezuela's entire communication network. Exploiting intelligence from Maduro's inner circle, the teams executed a high-precision raid on his secret hideout. Today, Maduro sits at an Air Force base in Miami, facing charges of narco-terrorism. While many critics view this as a blatant violation of international law regarding a head of state's immunity, others point to Maduro's long history of brutal human rights abuses. However, for the U.S., human rights and drug trafficking are merely the surface-level pretexts. Behind the curtain lies a deeper agenda: raw national interest, neo-imperialism, and the ruthless logic of might makes right. The United States has moved beyond the old colonial model of territorial conquest into neo-imperialism. It uses democracy and human rights as a political facade to control foreign resources. Under the Trump administration, this has evolved into a more direct form of interventionist governance. The U.S. wields four primary weapons: dollar hegemony, using the U.S. dollar to control the global financial system and weaponizing sanctions to starve non-compliant nations into submission. Military bases, maintaining over 750 military bases globally as a constant shadow of intimidation. Puppet regimes, installing favored leaders to exercise indirect control over sovereign nations. Technological imperialism, shaping global public opinion through U.S.-based social media giants and digital surveillance. The true motive for the Venezuelan intervention is not human rights. It is about reclaiming control over the world's largest oil reserves and safeguarding the petrodollar. In this context, human rights are merely sugar-coated poison designed to garner international support for military action. The double standards of U.S. foreign policy are etched into history. Democracy is a tool used selectively, invoked when convenient, and discarded when not. Iraq, 2003. The U.S. bypassed the UN, alleging the presence of weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. No such weapons were found. The real goal was the removal of Saddam Hussein and control over Middle Eastern oil. Libya, 2011. Under the guise of the responsibility to protect, NATO forces focused on toppling Gaddafi rather than protecting civilians, leaving the country in a state of chaotic civil war that the U.S. eventually abandoned. Israel, Palestine. While the U.S. rightfully condemns Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it uses its veto power to shield Israel from accountability for decades of illegal occupation and settlement expansion. The billions in military aid provided to Israel, despite the thousands of Palestinian civilian casualties, reveal that human rights are reserved only for allies. The U.S. labels Maduro a dictator, yet maintains warm ties with absolute monarchies in the Middle East due to oil and strategic interests. This proves that Washington judges a regime not by its governance, but by its obedience. The U.S. is not alone in this game. China and Russia are equally aggressive in manipulating smaller nations for their gain. China's debt trap diplomacy. China enslaves smaller nations through economic aid. It provides unsustainable billions in loans. When a nation defaults, China seizes strategic assets like ports on 99-year leases, like Sri Lanka. In the South China Sea, it ignores international law to build artificial islands and militarize the maritime territory of its neighbors. Russia's hard power. Seeking to regain Soviet-era glory, Russia uses raw military force to annex territories of neighbors that lean towards the West, like Ukraine, Georgia. It also uses energy as a hostage, threatening to cut off gas to Europe to gain political leverage. All three powers share a common arrogance. They abuse their UN veto power to protect themselves and their allies, and they fuel proxy wars in smaller nations, selling weapons while foreign civilians pay the price in blood. We are witnessing a shift towards blatant territorial ambition. Beyond controlling Venezuela's oil fields, the U.S. is eyeing the Danish territory of Greenland. Greenland is the treasure chest of the future. As the Arctic ice melts, new shipping lanes open, and Greenland's vast reserves of rare earth minerals, essential for future technology, become accessible. This represents a new expansionism for the 21st century. The world is regressing towards a law of the jungle, where power dictates truth. Democracy and human rights have become daggers hidden in the pockets of superpowers. In this era, small nations are once again reminded that in the high-stakes game of global politics, justice is a luxury and power is the only currency that matters.